I had around 12 plus years of experience into IT industry, and since the past 6 plus years, I have been working as Azure data engineer. That's about me and my background. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer, uh, and I have completed n number of Microsoft certifications. So I'm a full-time employee in a reputed organization, and I work as a data engineer. So that's about me. And coming to the data factory, uh, this is one of the most widely used tools in Azure. As you know, Azure is a cloud service provider, cloud service from the Microsoft. It is currently in second position, but with respect to the speed of growth, Azure is in the first position. Okay. Uh, okay. Sure. So with respect to the speed of the growth, Azure is in first position, whereas with respect to the market capture, Azure is currently in the second position. Okay. And today we will mainly focus on what are the advantages of learning Azure Data Factory, what are the job prospects and other things, along with the course contents, and if you have any questions. Okay. So before we go into those things, I just wanted to check if any of you have anything to ask in general. Give me 1 second. Let me connect to my headsets. So is my voice better now? Can someone please confirm if I am audible? Okay. Thanks, Mesh. So today we will mainly focus on the job opportunities and the course content, and if you have any other questions. Okay. So this course will be around 30 hours of duration. So weekly 5 days. So it will be approximately 6 weeks of duration. Okay. So before we proceed, I just wanted to check if any of you have any questions in general, like about me, my experience and other things, and as well as with respect to IT industry or other things. If you have no questions, we will proceed with it. Okay. So with silence, I assume you don't have any questions. Okay. So we will first see who should be learning Azure Data Factory. Let me share my screen. So Azure Data Factory is a ETL tool. Does anyone know what is the ETL tool? Is my screen visible? Hello. Okay, good. Thank you. So does anyone know what's a yeah, extract, transform, and load, just like SSIS. Okay. So what is this extract, transform, and load? So if you need to get data from one location to another location, you need to first pull it from a source location. So for pulling it from the source location, you are going to call it as extract, then transform. Whatever the data you get, you are not going to place it as is at the destination. You might need to make some changes. So why do you need to make changes? There are some basic transformations that are needed for almost every kind of data. Assume your clients are present all over the world and you are getting a date as one of the column in our data. So in the US, the date is written as month slash day slash year, whereas in UK or India, it is day slash month slash year. So you need to have the data at the destination in a single format. In each location, when you are getting it from different locations, you cannot have it in the same way as is. You are going to unify the data. While unifying the data, you are going to standardize it and then only store it at a single location. Okay, so for that purpose, this is just a simple example. There can be many other things that you do with respect to transforming the data. Okay, and then after the transformation is done, you are going to load the data into your destination. So why this Azure Data Factory? There are already many tools in the market, just like SSIS, which already belongs to Microsoft. Since SSIS already belongs to Microsoft, why do you need Azure Data Factory again? Any idea? Mahesh already told that Data Factory is like SSIS. So SSIS is SQL Server Integration Services. So cloud based. So why should you go for cloud based? What is cloud based and why should you use this cloud based? Why is SSIS not enough and why should you go for a cloud based tool? Any guess? Just give your thoughts to store large amount of data. Okay. Any other things? Deepti says you need to go to cloud based to store large amounts of data. So Lakshman says to reduce the cost. What else? Are you sure cloud based things stores large amount of data and they reduce costs? Okay, so let's come to that slowly. But before that, this Azure Data Factory was initially thought to be not the what you say ETL tool, but it was expected to be a ELT tool. Okay, it was initially built to be a ELT. What is the difference between ETL and ELT? ETL, you are going to make the transformations and then store the data at the destination. Whereas ELT, you are going to extract, load it at the target, wherever the target is. You are going to load the data into the target, and then make the necessary changes at the target. Means with the data factory, you cannot make any transformations. That was at the initial stage. It's not the case now. Okay. Now there are many inbuilt capabilities of data factory with which you can make n number of transformations. And if those things are not enough, data factory offers integration with many other tools, including your SSIS. Okay, there is something called Databricks, HD Insights, SSIS. Okay, there are also something like Azure Functions, etc., which can be integrated with data factory. These are all again transformation tools. Databricks, HD Insight, Azure Functions, so on. There are many transformations tools. Data factory by itself can make many transformations in it. But if there is something you feel is complex or not possible with data factory, then you can integrate any of these tools and perform the necessary transformations. And you can perform the necessary transformations. Okay. So and the second advantage with data factory is it is cloud based. So what is the advantage of cloud based and what is the disadvantage of the on-prem thing? With the on-prem, like SSIS, it supports limited number of sources. Okay, whereas with the data factory or any cloud-based tool, they generally support use number of source and destinations. Say for example, with SSIS, you want to get data from something like a Salesforce server or a Teradata or some web or REST API, it's not possible. Whereas with data factory, it supports n number of sources and n number of targets. Okay, so it is not limited to only Microsoft thing. Whereas say if you take something like SSIS, it is mostly limited to the Microsoft, though they later on added compatibility with other data sources and targets. They are also very limited. But with data factory, it supports literally almost many sources and few hundreds of sources and few hundreds of targets, destinations. Okay. And coming to the cloud, why store data in cloud? And why use a ETL service which is in cloud? Storing large amount of data is a good aspect, but that can be done even with your on-prem. You can buy few TB of data, few petabytes and zettabytes of server. But if you want to buy that much zettabytes of server, the maintenance and as well as the cost of the server will be too costly. Generally, you don't scale up to zettabytes on day one. You generally start with some gigabytes of data and keep on increasing day by day. And if your business is growing very fast, you might go to few terabytes and eventually few petabytes very soon. But on day one, you don't plan for that thing. You only plan for coming 6 months or coming 2 to 3 years. Okay. But if the growth is much more than expected, then whatever the resources you bought will go into waste. Okay. So what will you do? Instead of, you need to buy new resources again. Okay, or you need to expand your storage, you need to expand your network capability, you need to buy new servers, so on. So all the existing servers will be wasted. So instead of that, you can go to the cloud and take only the resources which are needed for you as on date. As the number of clients increase, you can increase the source storage, you can increase the server capability, all without any downtime. Okay, that's a huge advantage of the cloud services. Assume if you want to increase your normal on-prem server size, there will be downtime. There will be associated downtime. But whereas when it comes to any cloud service like Azure, there is no downtime. It is internally taken care by the cloud service provider. Okay, with the cloud, there is no downtime. Okay, this is one of the biggest advantage of storing data in cloud, and also there is high availability. Any idea of what is this high availability? So this high availability is something where your data is always available. This is achieved by using different things. First one is your replication of data. So your data is generally not stored at one location. It is replicated and stored in different locations based on the amount that you pay. Okay. So when it is replicated and stored at different locations, in the on-prem, it is very difficult because you don't have an office in some other location. Your office is only at one location. Okay. But still, if you want to maintain this replication in a different location to overcome the natural calamities or something, you still need to maintain staff and other resources at a different location, even though you don't need it. So this is all taken care by the cloud service provider when you choose this high availability. So this is one of the important reason why people go to cloud. And reduced cost, even though there is no direct reduction of cost, indirectly the cost is reduced because you don't spend everything on day one. As and when the requirement is increasing, you increase your resources. That way, indirectly, the cost is also reduced if you plan properly. Okay, so those are some of the important reasons why you go to cloud. There are other reasons like security. You need not maintain security personnel, okay, or staff unnecessarily. Okay, it's all taken care by the cloud service provider. So just because of the cyber security and other reasons, many companies are spending a few $100 only to overcome the security issues. So when it is in cloud, security is not a problem for you. It is automatically taken care by the service provider. So there are many other such reasons behind the scene. Okay, that's why people choose cloud. Any questions still here? Okay, assuming no questions. Let's next see this job opportunities that are there for the Azure Data Factory. Then we will finally see the course contents. Naukri is the most popular site currently in India for search of jobs. There are also other sites like Monster, Indeed, Glassdoor, so on. But we will stick to Naukri. Okay. Let's just see Azure Data Factory. You can see when I type Azure, in the top view, it is showing Azure Data Factory. So job opening in Azure Data Factory for MNC, hiring for Azure Data Factory. Okay, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Factory. You can see there are many openings. If you know Python, Tableau, or Informatica, this is the added advantage. And with respect to experience, 4 to 7, 7 to 9, 3 to 8, 5 to 7, 5 to 10, 4 to 9, 3 to 5 to 10, so on. Okay, so you should have minimum. Generally preferred one is 3 years. It says though 1 to 3 years. Generally the preferred experience is 3 years. There are openings for less than 3 years as well, but that's rare. Mostly you will find it between 3 years to or more. You can just see the salary range 5 lakhs to 15.5 lakhs. Okay, there are many openings with Azure Data Factory, just Data Factory. If you go in combination with Data Factory and other tools like Power BI, SSIS, SQL Server, SSAS, Analysis Services. Okay, so these all have additional huge number of jobs, and also the salary will be increasing as you know more and more tools. See, this is SSAS developer, and they should know Data Factory, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Factory, so on. Okay, let me just see if I can have the salary range. See, 0 to 3 lakhs 678 posts, 3 to 6 lakhs these many, 6 to 10 lakhs these many. Most of the jobs are in between this range. Okay, 6 lakhs to 25 lakhs. Most of the jobs are in this range. There are also more and less, but they are comparatively less jobs. 6,000, 6,000, 5,000. Within India, you can see how many jobs are there currently with Data Factory. 6, 12, 6, almost 18. More than 20,000 jobs are there in India currently on Azure Data Factory itself. So that's the demand for Azure Data Factory. You can also choose locations. Assume most of you are from Hyderabad. You can see there are 2,000 plus jobs in Hyderabad on Azure Data Factory. Other locations, you can see Bangalore has the highest number. Second comes this Hyderabad. There are also other locations. Okay, Delhi also is second, Pune, so on. Okay, and there are also many remotes. 233 are on remote, even though these guys say this is the location, that will be the base location. They will also offer remote. So these are the number of openings with Data Factory. And is there any prerequisite for learning Data Factory? Though in fact there is no prerequisite, learning SQL is a mandatory kind of thing. Without knowing SQL, any SQL, whether it be Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle SQL, or some other SQL, learning SQL is mandatory. Without SQL, it will be difficult to get a job in Azure Data Factory. Okay, and there are other tools which are generally in combination with Data Factory. Though Data Factory alone gives you good jobs, there are other things which are in combination with Data Factory, gives you better salaries and makes you get job easily. They include Databricks, Python, SQL, Power BI, SSIS. Okay, these are going to give you very additional advantage. Okay, any questions still here? You can see 8 to 18 lakhs. You will find different number of things. Minimum salary would be between 5 lakhs to 25 lakhs is the range where you find huge number of jobs. Less than 5 and greater than 25 also jobs will be there, but they will be less. Guys, any questions? Okay. Sure. So what's the actual work for ADF developer? So developing the data factory pipelines will be the most important work. Okay, you need to develop the pipelines and maintain the pipelines. So this and deploying the pipelines from one environment to another environment. So this will be the most important responsibility or the work they do. What are these pipelines? What do these pipelines do? These pipelines are generally built to load data and transform data. Okay, there are many activities which can be used to build these pipelines. We'll understand what activities are, what pipelines are, and other details slowly as the course progresses. Any other questions? Okay, so you can see mostly people ask along with data factory, they ask SQL, PySpark, Databricks. Okay, here also you can see data lake, Databricks, data factory. Azure DB is nothing but SQL again. Okay, SQL, Azure, Azure DevOps, data factory, Databricks, SQL. Okay, mostly people will be asking SQL, even though they don't ask SQL. They assume you know SQL. Okay, SQL, data factory, data lake. We will also understand what this data lake is, how to create data lake, why you should choose data lake or the blob storage, all other things. Okay, data factory, SQL. Okay, so Azure functions. I told you, right? There are many other tools which can be integrated. It includes Azure functions or Databricks or something else. Okay, so these are some of the combinations where you can use with data factory, but mostly they ask for SQL. Data flow is also part of data factory. ADF means Azure Data Factory itself. We'll understand what these data flows and other things are. Data factory, data flow, ADF, SQL, Azure SQL, the same things they are asking again. Okay. And if no questions, we'll move to the course content. Okay. Can ADF is more advantage for a Power BI developer? Yes. With respect to Power BI, not just Power BI, for that case, any reporting tool, only reporting tool, people are not asking these days. They are asking to load the data by themselves, transform the data, and then build reports on top of the data. So this is the requirement these days. Just like a full stack developer, a full stack Java developer, or a full stack .NET developer, these days, the reporting tools, they are also asking, are expecting that you should get the data, transform the data, load the data, and visualize the data as a end-to-end thing. Only visualizing the data, they are not expecting. Of course, there are still jobs for only visualization, but if you know end-to-end, since pulling the data till displaying the data, if you know end-to-end, that has a huge advantage. Okay. So coming to course contents, whatever is this highlighted, these things we will cover in more depth. Others we will learn them, but they will not be covered into depth. So we will see what is IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, what is public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, so on. We will also learn how to get a free subscription to Azure for a certain amount of time. Okay, that we will learn. We will see what are the different components available in Azure along with the services available in Azure. We'll see some of the components, what they do, how they do, other things. Some of the important components also in Azure are the Active Directory, where you will see the users and their permissions. Excuse me. Then the compute resources. For transformations, you need to compute. Okay, the compute resources are something like your data, bricks, and so on. There are also other compute resources like virtual machines and other things. They're also used for computing. Okay, and we'll see storage. We will create these three storages actually. Then we will understand how to manage the data. What are the tools useful in Azure for managing the data? Okay, Data Factory, Logic Apps, Databricks, Synapse Analytics, Cosmos DB. Of course, Cosmos DB is for data storage more than data management. So I think I should move it here. Okay, we'll see an introduction to all of these things. And we will cover in depth of Azure Data Factory, almost end to end. What are activities, what are data flows, what are pipelines, linked services, triggers, how to debug this data factory, okay, how to pass parameters dynamically at the runtime, what are variables, some real-time scenarios as well, okay, in what scenario, what kind of problems I have faced throughout my experience and how to overcome them. These all things we'll be seeing. Then with respect to security, we'll be using Azure Key Vault. We will understand what is the Azure Key Vault, what are secrets, how to store secrets, why should you use it, store it in Azure Key Vault, what happens if you give them directly, these are all kind of things. And we'll see the Azure DevOps. Okay, there are pipelines here as well. These pipelines are used for deployments, but we'll mainly focus on repositories which are used for the version control. For version control mechanism, we'll be using repositories. We'll understand what are repositories. Just like if you know Git for version control, this is also Azure DevOps is also for the version control. In fact, internally Azure DevOps uses Git only. There are also other version control systems like Tortoise SVN, TFS, Team Foundation Server, so on. But Git has become most popular. Microsoft has bought Git, and Microsoft itself is promoting Git. Though Git is open source, it is bought by Microsoft, and Microsoft is promoting Git. Okay, so these all things we'll be seeing: activities, dataset, linked services, parameters, integration, runtimes, data flows, Power Queries, triggers. These are all part of the data factory, and we'll be seeing some real-time scenarios, okay, within the data factory. Azure DevOps is a different part. Yes, Azure DevOps is a different part, but it is used for deploying mainly from one environment to other environment, as well as for version control. We will see a good introduction to DevOps. We'll almost see what are all the available components of DevOps, and we will mainly focus on this version control mechanism. Any other questions? Okay, so before we proceed, I request everyone to fill this form. Okay, Please share your email ID and phone number in that form so that you will be communicated regularly about the course and other things. So what do you get as part of this course? So what are the basics needed to learn ADF? As I mentioned, to learn ADF, nothing is needed, but to be placed or to get a job, SQL is mandatory. Along with SQL and ADF, the more you learn, the better salary you get. Okay, but just to get job, SQL and ADF are mandatory. Free is the recruitment process. I just showed you the Naukri.com website. I don't know who told. Is this alternate for SSIS? Yeah, you can assume as an alternate for SSIS, but this is cloud-based, whereas SSIS is on-prem. There are many legacy projects in SSIS, so SSIS will not go away right away. It will stay for some more years to come, but eventually SSIS might go off as more and more people move from on-prem to cloud. Azure Data Factory doesn't support on-prem, SSIS doesn't support cloud. But you can integrate SSIS with Data Factory. That is all possible only in Data Factory. That's not possible in SSIS. So what will you get as part of this course? Along with the knowledge and real-time scenarios, we will also support you for getting a job. There are tie-ups with the institute with some companies. So whenever there is an opening, we will be first intimated and you will come to know about it. And the second thing is we will help you to prepare resume and face the interviews, and also you will get the recordings of this so that if you want to go through something again and again, you can go through the recordings. Okay. And also at the end of the course, I will be sharing you a important material or PDF file on Azure Data Factory that will be very useful to you, so that you can go through it whenever possible. Any other questions? Okay. Assuming no questions. Yeah, I will also help you and explain you to create a free account in Azure. That account can be used free of cost for 30 days to use the services in Azure. You can use for whatever the services you want, not just Data Factory. You can use for whatever the service you want. Once that expires, you can also create another account if you have another credit card and email ID. You need to just have a credit card or a debit card. And try to join by 8 PM IST. Okay. We will try to start on time and close on time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ping in the group chat. Okay. And I will always answer your questions. If you don't understand something, if you want me to repeat something, all these things. Duration, it is for 30 hours, 5 days a week. So it will be almost 6 weeks approximately, plus or minus 2 to 3 days. Anything else? And those who missed this link, request you to fill in that link. Fee details, please contact with the institute management. They will provide the fee details. Okay, you can reach out to them, or if you give your contact details, they will reach out to you. Azure installation is not needed. Azure is a cloud-based or a browser-based thing. You can just open Azure by using portal.azure.com. Okay, let me sign out and sign in again. So just say portal.azure.com. It will take you to the Azure portal wherein you can log in and start using Azure. Okay, or you can even say azure.com to learn and understand more about Azure. What are the features available in Azure? Okay, what are the latest updates? Okay, latest things you need to understand. Okay, what kind of activities that you can do? You can do the machine learning, compute, containers. Containers are nothing but something like you use it for your deployments. Okay, hybrid or multi-cloud. What is hybrid and multi-cloud? Hybrid is partially on-prem and partially cloud. That is hybrid. Multi-cloud, say if you have some of your resources in GCP or AWS, you want to have some other resources in Azure. Previously, it was not possible. Now they came up with all these things. There are something like Azure Arc, okay, wherein you can use multiple cloud-based environments. Okay, so Azure Active Directory is for multiple tenants within the same Azure. Azure Arc is for completely different cloud. So on Internet of Things, there are more than 200 plus products. You can just click on this and you will be able to see all the products of Azure. What you want to do, you can just uh, see, and with that you'll be able to use it. Okay, so these are all the different databases supported. Cosmos DB, Data Factory. Data Factory, though it's not a database, it's mainly used for moving the data from one location to another location, so on. These are all the different things supported by the Azure. Okay, any other questions? So once you see this portal.azure.com, it will ask for your username and password. If you don't have a user, you can create one. Okay, once you give your username and password, this is the window that will be displayed to you. We'll understand more about this window, these features, and other things in the next session, which is tomorrow. Today, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask, like what are the job opportunities, what is the salary you will get, what the experience needed, what are the technologies to be learned. I have covered almost all things, but in case you have further questions. Certainly, there is a fear that there will be recession glooming up very soon, but that all depends on the many factors, not just one thing, like how much time this Russia-Ukraine war will go on, whether China will start war with Taiwan or they won't start. Okay, and many other external factors. But as of now, it's only a fear, and recession has not yet started. Freeze of jobs has not yet started. That's only a myth as of now. But there are fears. It depends on many external factors which are not in our hands. What level of SQL knowledge is needed? Medium level of SQL knowledge is needed. You need not be experts, but you should know good amount of SQL, like what is a stored procedure, what's a view, how to create stored procedures, these kind of things. And do remember, any recession is not going to stay forever. Recession has certainly come a number of times, and certainly has affected the IT markets, but it's not going to stay forever. And recession has not started yet. So don't worry, that recession has started and freeze started. As of now, nothing of such has started. How many years of experience we show? Minimum 3 years will be good to get a decent job and decent salary in data factory related technologies. But less than 3 years as well, you can get jobs, but might not be with a good salary. But minimum 3 years gives you very good salary. Anything else? Yeah, if no questions, we close it for today. Tomorrow we will discuss about, will you support the resume preparation? Yes, we will help you with the resume preparation. Certainly, we will do that.